thought life. A new day is dawning. No longer do we have to settle for less. When we demand more of ourselves and think with an elevated purpose, we'll embrace the positives, reject the negatives, so we can live a much more purpose-driven, meaningful life. All right. Now's the time, let's elevate our minds. Make wise decisions that are right. 'Cause responsible thinking will lead us from darkness and into the light. Haunting thoughts of doubt and pain and despair, it weighed me down. But resilience stirred up, and then my strength it came around. With every new step we're taking, fear just fades away. The path to redemption takes me to a higher place. Now's the time, let's elevate our minds. Make wise decisions that are right. 'Cause responsible thinking will lead us from darkness and into the light. Like a phoenix rising up from the ashes. Take control of our lives, we're taking action. Let us taste the victory of sweet embrace.
And developing a better way of thinking that is not allowing our emotions to get the best of it. Actually, not being reactionary, but actually be able to respond to life in a more elevated, self-aware way. So that's what I want to talk about. Emotional intelligence. What does that mean to me? What that means to me is that with a little bit of work and a little bit of development, I don't have to be ragdolled by my feelings and my emotions. Most people don't recognize that there's a way that we can develop a better way of being more effective in life by actually developing some self-awareness, self-control, and restraint of anger, disappointments. You know, we do have God-given emotions, but a lot of times what I find out is that we don't use them to our benefit. They actually become a liability and not an asset. You know, being a hothead. I mean, from a very young age, I can remember when my feelings didn't serve me well. You know, like I can remember back in high school when the bully would come and he would, he'd do his thing, slap my books out of my hand, and I got up in my feelings, you know what I mean? And a couple times, he was like, man, shut up, man up, you know what I mean? And my emotions were being played with at that particular time. See, the bully is the master of control, right? First, he gets you scared of him, and then you bow down to him, right? Instead of getting beat up, you bow down to him. And the reason why I bring up the bully is because on so many different occasions, what happens is we allow our emotions to bully us into this feeling of being insufficient and not being able to actually cope with things. And instead of addressing things, we learn how to just kind of like push it to the side. I won't address that today. And what I've discovered is that if I don't address these things head on, straightforward when they come, I'm going to develop some warped ways of looking at life, and I'll avoid my feelings at all costs. So I say that the bully, being the emotions, which will always tell you some misinformation, that you're not good enough, that this is too hard for me to do. And my feelings will also back that up, because every time that I back away from an opportunity, I'm staying in this unintelligent place. I'm emotional way of thinking, and I'm not working in an effective way. I'm not taking control of the situation. Another example I can bring up to you that is just like When you're in relationships, right? Um, a lot of times, what I've discovered is that uh, I'm not saying this for all women, but I'm saying most women that I've experienced in life, they're more led by their emotions and their feelings than they are about facts and how things are actually are playing out, right? And so what happens for me periodically is that us as men, you know what I mean? It's very hard for us to relate to a woman's sensitivities and to be able to be in touch with a woman's female sensitivities. Being a man, I recognize that I have a lot of things that, like, I don't lean on my feelings. I don't really look at them as a valuable asset. I look at them as a very unstable part of my life. And because I've been trying to develop more self-awareness and more accountability, self-accountability, what happens for me one day at a time is that, and through each experience, I get to see how my emotions play a big part in how things play out and how my emotional instability can make me look very unstable as a human being. Easy to anger, uh, uh, a lot led by my emotions, led by my feelings, and always seem like I'm never really in touch with, like, the inner eye of the tiger, right? And the eye of the tiger means that, hey, I don't give a damn what's going on. I'm gonna stay stable in this situation because when I'm in when I'm in a stable, content situation, unencumbered by my feelings, I can make educated decisions. And I can also look at a situation optimistically instead of looking at everything as a problem. A lot of times I'll label things as a problem because I just don't want to take the time to deal with them. We label a lot of things in our lives as a problem. That's an emotional cop out. I don't want to address it, so let me push it to the side and just not address it and just kind of like avoid it. Avoidance is a big way that a person year in and year out can just avoid opportunities to grow. And since I've had 63 years on this planet, I've had a good look at myself. I look at me constantly because when I look at myself, I get to be self-aware and I get to find out the areas in my life that definitely need work. Emotional intelligence first stands for the fact that I will not allow myself to be led by my feelings. I do have feelings, but I can't allow them to make decisions for me. And one thing I know for sure is that the prisons the prison system is full of angry people. People who made gang members, like, you know, gang members, tough guys with pistols who have something to prove, right? And if somebody gets them mad, what do? What happens when you get a gang member angry? What happens when you step on the toes of somebody else in the hood and somebody embarrasses you in front of a group of people, right? You pull your pistol out and you start shooting. That seems to be the norm. You know what I mean? You feel like you have a set that you have to represent, right? And you have to play this tough guy role, right? And any, the toughest guy is the one who pulls the gun out first. I'm just making a little example of how our prisons are full of people who just didn't, they reacted to life and they didn't respond to life, and recognizing that on the other side of anger, when I act out in anger, there's a consequence for that. And so I pay the price over and over and over and over again. We have a community of people, you know what I'm saying, who are extremely angry and they're just waiting for some opportunity to lash out their wrath on the world. You know what I'm saying? And that really doesn't benefit them because they'll usually end up in a prison cell somewhere. So I'm saying all that to say that without emotional intelligence, you know what I mean? Anger in the wrong hands can put another person behind bars. Developing developing emotional intelligence and taking the time to recognize that, hey, listen, the best way for me to be effective in life is to be able to manage my emotions, to be able to deal with them one thing at a time. And how do I develop those things? Self-awareness, practicing mindfulness. Self-awareness is just recognizing and understanding emotions, the values, and the goals that I'm trying to set. First of all, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. I don't need to be this type of person who's extremely emotionally unstable, you know what I mean? A loose cannon, angry at the world and everybody in it, right? And just waiting for somebody to actually push my buttons. And so what I recognized, since I was that guy, right, it didn't play out too well for me. An angry person does not attract the type of people that are loving, kind. A person could kind of see you coming. You know what I mean? The energy. We all have this certain type of energy. You know what I mean? And if we don't have that awareness, like, what does the world get when it gets me? You know what I'm saying? Like, self-awareness and emotional intelligence means that I'm going to be aware of who I am and how I'm coming off into the world. I'm in control of my energy, right? I've done a lot of work on myself because I want to be the best version of myself. Thought Life is an opportunity for everyone to just take the time to make the investment they need to make so that they can be more effective in life and less reactionary and be able to respond to life's highs and lows as they come. All of us are going to go through things in life, right? But we don't have to be on the ass end of an emotional breakdown or emotional turmoil, disappointment, and all the rest of those things. Half of the disappointments that I had in life is because I came into life with an unrealistic expectation that everybody's supposed to serve me, right? From the time I'm sucking on mama's nipple, you know what I'm saying? I cry when I'm hungry. I cry, and she feeds me, right? And the same exact trajectory happens unless I start growing up emotionally, spiritually, and all the rest of those things. You know what I mean? Unaddressed, I could be a child in a man's body, thinking like a man, responding to life like a man, and also like a boy and a child in a man's body. What do I mean by that? Is that I as a boy, I have expectations. I have built-in expectations of what life's supposed to look like, right? And if it doesn't look that way, and people don't treat me the way I expect them to treat me, I'm setting myself up for resentments and disappointment. And once I'm full of resentments and disappointment, I become an angry person, right? I don't really have a realistic look at life. I don't look at life through a realistic lens. I'm looking at life as though it owes me something, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people in the world spoil their children. They spoil them, whatever they want. Oh, you want a new bike, Billy? Here's a new bike. Hey, you know what I mean? Next Christmas, another new bike. Oh, you want the Transformer? I got you. You know what I mean? And you're showering your kids with all these things, right? And you're never teaching them how to work for anything, right? And then soon enough, they become 18 years old, left to fend for themselves, unequipped to deal with the world because they were spoiled at home. And that becomes also problematic for someone, any child who is not conditioned to leave the nest. I got friends who still live at their mom's house, 45, 50 years old. Hey, they're still in mom, dad's house, right? They never branched out. Why? Because moms and dads have that open door policy. But not all of us are blessed to have that, right? Because a lot of us have to eventually step outside the nest and grow up emotionally, spiritually, financially, and all those other areas of our lives. And it's very, very, very difficult for somebody who's been henpecked all their life. You know what I'm saying? And henpecked is not a bad, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to give you a bad thing for parents that just really love their kids, man. But there's a way that you can love your kids and set them up for failure, right? If you don't teach them how to work and earn a living, you know what I'm saying? This is what you're gonna have to prepare yourself for. We're not gonna be able to put something under the Christmas tree every year, right? If you want those new Jordans, you're gonna have to go mow the lawn. I thank my dad. I thank God for my dad because we had 4 brothers in our house, and I was the baby boy, and all I got was the hand-me-down tennis shoes. Right, first day of school, I'm like, man, hey man, what's wrong with this picture? You know, everybody got new shoes with me, and because I wanted to fit in and I wanted to stand out, right? I wanted those brand new Jordans. You know, this school year, and my dad said, "Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll go half with you on those new Jordans. Here's a lawnmower. Go out here in the neighborhood and walk and cut some grass and make some money, and I'll go half with you." Ever since that day, when I actually earned that money at 13 years old, he taught me how to earn my living. So I started I started cutting lawns on my own. And I still cut lawns today. It's part of the business that I have is that I do maintenance. I'm just saying all that to say that with the right initiative, you know what I'm saying? A child can be taught, you know, emotional intelligence. It's like, if you do this, you'll get this. But if you don't get that nurturing, you know what I mean, and being taught how to do things the right way, we can end up being all types of bad things happen to baby birds when they leave the nest. A lot of bad things happened for me because I was attracted to cool people. I wanted to be one of the cool people. I wanted to be the guy who smoked the joint behind the bleachers. You know what I mean? That cool guy who never seemed to go to class. You know what I mean? He was always at school. And me pursuing that, right, led me down a path of emotional ignorance. So I'm saying all that to say that it all ties back in to the lack of education, right? And not learning from my mistakes. I learned that when I get angry, right? Anger kills the landlord. Anger kills the person who possesses it. It doesn't hurt the person outside itself. It hurts the one who's embracing anger. You know, it's this you know, justified anger. You know, somebody does you wrong. You know what I mean? I have a right to be angry, and then I have a right to lash out, get some payback, right? Whatever that might look like, right? And what I noticed about emotional unintelligence is that it's reactionary. You know, I react emotionally instead of responding to situations. I'm reacting to situations, and usually I end up on the bad end of a consequence. So I'm saying all that to say that at every age of our lives, it's not too late to learn some new skills and some new tools so that we're not victims of our emotions. We have God-given emotions, but they can use us, they can really not work in our benefit. And I've found out for myself through experience that being extremely reactionary and has been one of the things that has led me down a wrong path many years in my life. It's only after being able to be self-aware and look at the patterns. Look at the patterns. You know, look at the patterns in your own life. You know, how has anger served you? How's you being reactionary destroyed relationships? You know what I mean? They took years to build. You know what I mean? And so one of the valued things that I find out is that if I pause, that very, very important thing that we can do, pause when we're agitated and think about our next response to what's happening instead of how am I going to react to what's happening, right? And start being more well stable and more balanced in life and not be so led by my emotions. That's the whole thing about thought life, is that you think before you act. Have intentional thought. Wake up with an intentional thought. I'm going to have a great day today. Why? Because, first of all, God woke me up this morning, didn't wake me up to be miserable or unhappy. It doesn't matter whether it's raining outside, no matter what the weather is, right? I keep the same commitment. And when I build on that commitment and I wake up grateful, what happens for me, man, is that it sets the world on a better plane for something great to happen. I can leave out of the house, you know what I'm saying? I have daily routines that I do that put me in a good state of mind. You know, I'm my own best cheerleader. I've discovered that if I'm not my own best cheerleader, I'm my own worst enemy. But because I'm a little bit older now, and I think I should be a little more responsible with the part that I play and how I show up in life, that I should be able to show up at the best version of myself so other people can value from the love that I have to give. Learning to love yourself enough to do the difficult things that are going to make you a better person. You can go your whole life without even addressing any of your issues. We got a whole world full of people that do that. Thought life is not that for those type of people who just don't want to make the effort. Thought life is a challenge for you. Everybody listening to this video, you have the capacity to be the best version of yourself, if you're willing to commit on a daily basis to be a better person. I'm trying to get an army of people, you know what I'm saying, that all think alike. We're all trying to be the best version of ourselves and trying to be great thinkers. Not victims of life, but conquerors of life, emotions, and all the rest of that, see? Because it's possible. With diligence, commitment, and a constant iron sharpens iron. So the more people that join Thought Life and we join this community, what happens is we become a very, very powerful group of people who think before we act. We can interact with each other. So I'm trying to build this community. If you want to be part of this community, I have an email. It's called ThoughtLife206 Gmail 206. Let me see. It's right there on there. ThoughtLife206 @gmail.com. Hit me up if you want to be a part of this community. I'd love to have you. Love to chop it up with you, and we could talk about some of the difficulties that are dealing with you in your mind, how you're looking at life, the way that you look at yourself. Everything plays a huge part in how to enjoy life. Is to recognize that you have to start by loving yourself right where you're at, not where you hope to be, but right where you're at. Because every single day is a new opportunity for you to make these necessary investments and looking at yourself and what needs to be adapted, addressed, and also some new things that you can implement into your life, like your value system. Value your thoughts more than you do, you know what I mean? Just like you go to work every day, you value your job, because if you don't go to work, you can't get paid and you can't pay your bills. Those are the hamster wheel of life, right? Thought Life is asking you to add to the hamster wheel of importance how you think. Start adding that to your number one important priorities in life so that you can be a better version of yourself, where you're not just floating through life and waiting for something good to happen. Thought Life is an opportunity for you to step in the driver's seat and have intentional thinking. This is who I want to be. I have goals set that I want to set for myself, and I'm moving towards those goals. I'm not procrastinating. I'm working on being a better thinker, building and developing a self-awareness, which self-awareness gives birth to emotional intelligence, so I can show up in my relationships the best way that I can, one day at a time, which always empowers me. So the main thing I want to let you guys know is that every day is an opportunity for you to step up. I hope you guys got something out of that. I hope that this is an open invitation to you. Thought Life is for you. I created this for everybody in the community so they can think a little bit better, enjoy life a little bit better, love yourself better, so you can love others. God bless y'all. Hope y'all continue to come set to the next show. I love y'all. Keep coming back in. Go Seahawks. Go Mariners. Y'all, God bless y'all.
Thought life. A new day is dawning.